Here is the complete script followed by the JSON block. Title: 15 Best Islands and Coastal Destinations for Steady Living or Retirement in 2026. Most people searching for a place to retire or relocate abroad start with the usual suspects: Portugal, Thailand, Costa Rica. And those are fine choices. But the conversation almost always stays on the same 10 countries, cycling through the same cities, the same visa programs, the same price points. What that conversation misses is the sheer variety sitting just outside that mainstream orbit. Islands with real tax advantages. Coastal cities with functioning infrastructure and genuine expat communities. And a handful of domestic options inside the United States that offer more scenery, lower taxes, and a quieter quality of life than most people associate with staying home. This list covers 15 destinations across that full spectrum. Some are genuine island or coastal picks. Others are landlocked but share the same spirit of lower cost and higher quality of life relative to what most Westerners are currently paying. A few are flying completely under the radar. And as you will see, the top pick offers a combination of climate, community, and affordability that is genuinely hard to beat anywhere in the world right now. Keep in mind, the figures presented here are approximations meant to give you a sense of the cost of living. Always verify with up-to-date sources before making any decisions. Without further ado, let us get into the list. Number 15, Split, Croatia. Split sits on the Dalmatian coast of the Adriatic, wedged between limestone mountains and clear blue water. It is a UNESCO-listed city built around the walls of a Roman emperor's retirement palace, and it has been steadily attracting European and international expats for years now. Croatia joined the Schengen zone and adopted the euro in 2023, which removes a lot of the practical friction that used to come with living here. English is widely spoken among the under 40 population, crime rates are low, and the food and cafe culture punches well above its regional profile. Monthly costs run roughly $1,400 to $1,500 all in for a comfortable single-person lifestyle. Rent for a one-bedroom in the city center sits around $800 to $900 per month. Entry-level property starts at around $180,000, though decent units closer to the Old Town push toward $250,000 and above. The digital nomad visa requires proof of €2,500 per month in foreign income and is renewable for 12 months at a time. On the downside, this visa does not count toward permanent residency or citizenship, so those looking for a long-term legal pathway will need to explore other routes. Additionally, coastal prices during summer can effectively double, and non-EU buyers face a reciprocity check before purchasing property. Number 14, Iowa, USA. Iowa does not appear on many relocation lists. That is partly because it lacks coastline and partly because the word itself does not conjure lifestyle imagery the way Tuscany or Bali does. But for a certain type of buyer, particularly those interested in land productivity and domestic tax efficiency, it is worth a close look. Iowa sits at the heart of the American Corn Belt, with some of the most agriculturally productive soil on the planet. The state recently simplified its income tax to a flat 3.8%, and retirement income is largely exempt. Property taxes are moderate, and rural healthcare infrastructure is noticeably stronger than in comparable Midwestern states. Monthly living costs come in around $2,000 to $2,500 for a comfortable setup. A one-bedroom in a city center runs $1,000 to $1,300 per month. Entry-level residential property sits between $200,000 and $280,000. For those interested in farmland investment specifically, expect to pay $9,000 to $11,500 per acre, reflecting genuinely premium agricultural land. The honest downside is that Iowa winters are cold and long. The geography is flat, which limits scenic variety considerably, and smaller towns are experiencing steady out-migration, so amenity levels in rural areas can be inconsistent. Number 13, Sofia, Bulgaria. Sofia is the most affordable EU capital on this list, and it is one that consistently surprises people who visit for the first time. It sits at the foot of Vitosha Mountain, offers a functioning metro, a growing tech and cafe scene, and genuinely fast broadband. Bulgaria joined the Schengen area in March 2024, which means residents now move freely across most of Europe. The country operates a 10% flat income tax, the lowest rate in the entire European Union. For retirees, the long-stay D visa is available via pension income of around €1,800 per month, leading to a one-year renewable residence permit. Monthly costs here run around $900 to $1,100 all in. A one-bedroom in the center rents for $500 to $700. Entry-level property starts at around $70,000 to $90,000, making it one of the most accessible EU property markets anywhere. That said, winters in Sofia are genuinely cold, with temperatures regularly hitting -5°C or lower. The Cyrillic alphabet also presents a real learning curve for daily navigation, grocery shopping, and paperwork, particularly for those without any Slavic language background. Number 12. Puerto Rico, U.S. territory. Puerto Rico occupies a uniquely advantageous position for U.S. citizens. It is a Caribbean island with year-round warm weather, but it operates inside the U.S. legal and postal system, uses the U.S. dollar, and requires no visa whatsoever for American passport holders. The real draw for high-earning relocators is Act 60, which offers a 4% corporate tax rate and zero tax on Puerto Rico-sourced dividends and capital gains for bona fide residents. This is a genuinely powerful incentive that has attracted a notable wave of entrepreneurs, investors, and remote professionals over the past several years. Monthly costs range from around $1,700 to $2,700 depending on lifestyle and location. Rent for a one-bedroom in central areas runs $900 to $1,700. Entry-level property sits between $180,000 and $400,000 depending on the area and condition. The Act 60 benefit requires spending at least 183 days per year on the island and purchasing a primary home there, so it is not a casual arrangement. The power grid remains unreliable in parts of the island, a legacy of Hurricane Maria in 2017, some effects of which are still visible. Hurricane season runs June through November and is a consistent reality of life here. Number 11. Sicily, Italy, specifically Catania, Palermo, and Modica. Sicily is the Mediterranean at its most concentrated. Ancient Greek temples, Baroque hill towns, active volcanoes, and some of the best food on the continent, all at prices noticeably lower than the Italian mainland. The standout incentive here is Italy's 7% flat tax on foreign pension income, available to retirees who move to qualifying towns, most of which are in southern Italy and Sicily specifically. The €1 home schemes are still active in several Sicilian comuni for those willing to take on a renovation project. The elective residency visa provides a pathway for those with sufficient passive income. Monthly costs run roughly $1,200 to $1,500 for a comfortable lifestyle. Rent for a one-bedroom can be as low as $500 to $700 in smaller cities like Modica. Entry-level property starts remarkably low, from around $50,000 to $70,000 in smaller towns, though renovated properties in desirable areas push toward $160,000. The infrastructure is the honest caveat. Trains run late. Power cuts happen. Internet can be patchy outside city centers. And while organized crime in Sicily is more perception than practical reality for most foreign residents, it is a factor that some people find unsettling regardless. Number 10. Arkansas, USA. Arkansas is not a name that comes up in relocation conversations. It probably should. The state combines genuine natural beauty, specifically the Ozark and Ouachita mountain ranges with abundant lakes and rivers, with one of the lowest costs of living anywhere in the United States. The income tax rate tops out at 4.4% and is still declining. Social Security income is fully exempt. Property taxes are low, and the Northwest Corridor around Bentonville and Fayetteville has been growing rapidly, bringing better restaurants, broadband, and cultural amenity along with it. Monthly costs sit around $1,800 to $2,200 for a comfortable setup. A one-bedroom in a city center runs $850 to $1,100. Entry-level residential property ranges from $180,000 to $260,000. Farmland in the state runs $3,200 to $4,500 per acre, considerably more accessible than Iowa's premium agricultural land. The downsides are real, though. Summers are humid and genuinely uncomfortable. The state sits in Tornado Alley, and severe weather is a regular part of life. Rural infrastructure in the Eastern Delta region is thin, and the major airport options outside of Little Rock and Fayetteville are limited. Number 9. Oklahoma, USA. Oklahoma offers some of the cheapest farmland in the entire United States, ranging from $1,800 to $2,400 per acre, and a tax structure that is noticeably friendly to retirees. Social Security income is exempt from state tax. Seniors benefit from property tax freezes and homestead exemptions. The top income tax rate sits at 4.75%, and there is no estate tax. Oklahoma City and Tulsa are both genuinely growing metros with improving food, arts, and healthcare infrastructure. The overall cost of living remains well below the national average. Monthly costs come in around $1,700 to $2,300 all in. A one-bedroom in the city center rents for $900 to $1,200. Entry-level residential property sits at $170,000 to $260,000, making it one of the more affordable domestic options on this list. Tornado Alley exposure is the headline concern, and it is a genuine one. Oklahoma sits squarely in the path of severe spring storm systems year after year. The summer heat is harsh, often exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit for extended stretches. For those seeking mountain vistas or coastal access, the scenery here will not scratch that itch. Number 8. Punta Cana and Bávaro, Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic has one of the fastest residency-to-citizenship timelines in the Americas, roughly 2 years from residency approval to a full Dominican passport. Combined with direct flight access from the US, Canada, and Europe, a year-round Caribbean climate, and relatively low day-to-day costs, it is a destination that deserves more serious attention than it typically receives. The Pensioner Do program requires just $1,500 per month in pension income. The Rentista option asks for $2,000 per month in passive income. Both are accessible thresholds relative to other Caribbean programs. Monthly costs in the Punta Cana and Bávaro area run around $1,300 to $1,700 for a comfortable lifestyle. Rent for a one-bedroom sits at $600 to $1,000. Entry-level property ranges from $100,000 to $250,000. The main caveat worth flagging is the resort's own bubble effect. Life inside the Punta Cana corridor is clean, easy, and well-serviced, but it does not fully represent Dominican life. Step outside that zone and the experience changes sharply in terms of infrastructure and amenity. Hurricane season from June through November is also a consistent risk factor here. Number 7. St. Kitts and Nevis. St. Kitts and Nevis holds a notable distinction. It launched the world's first citizenship by investment program back in 1984, and the program remains active and well regarded today. The passport provides visa-free access to more than 150 countries, including the UK and all Schengen member states. There is no income tax on the island, and the political environment is stable. The program requires either a $250,000 donation to the Sustainable Growth Fund or a $400,000 real estate investment in approved projects. Savvy investors have already been looking at this as both a lifestyle and a portfolio diversification tool. Monthly living costs run around $2,000 to $3,000 depending on lifestyle. A one-bedroom in the center rents for $1,200 to $2,000. Entry-level property starts at $400,000 and moves upward from there. The honest assessment here is that Street Kitts is not a cost-of-living destination. It is a passport acquisition and lifestyle play for those who can afford the entry price. For those unable or unwilling to spend at that level, the smaller services and limited infrastructure of a genuinely small island will feel constraining. Number 6. Marrakech and Essaouira, Morocco. Morocco sits 3 hours by air from most European capitals, which makes it genuinely accessible in a way that many low-cost destinations are not. Essaouira on the Atlantic coast offers mild, breezy winters and a distinctly slower pace than the inland cities. Marrakech delivers a rich, layered cultural experience, though its summers are not for the faint-hearted. The carte de séjour residence system starts with a 1-year permit and extends to a renewable 10-year card. Requirements include proof of income and a clean criminal record, relatively straightforward for most retirees. Monthly costs here are genuinely low, around $800 to $1,100 all in outside the tourist-facing Medina zones. A 1-bedroom rents for $400 to $700. Entry-level property starts at around $80,000 and can reach $200,000 for something more comfortable in a sought-after area. The practical challenge is language. French and Arabic are essential for daily life outside tourist corridors, and those without at least conversational French will find integration slow and frustrating. Marrakech interior temperatures can reach 45 degrees Celsius in peak summer, and infrastructure consistency varies noticeably between coastal and inland areas. Number 5. Valencia, Spain. Valencia has been rated the #1 city for expats by Internations for multiple years running, and the reasons are not hard to understand. It sits on the Mediterranean coast, surrounded by farmland, with a city centre that blends medieval architecture with modern infrastructure. Healthcare is excellent. The food culture, centered on the birthplace of paella, speaks for itself. The non-lucrative visa requires passive income of around €2,400 per month and does not permit employment. Remote workers can access the separate digital nomad visa. Monthly costs in Valencia come in at around $1,600 to $2,000 for a comfortable lifestyle. Rent for a 1-bedroom runs $900 to $1,300. Entry-level property sits at $150,000 to $250,000 in most neighborhoods. It is worth noting that Spain's golden visa property route was closed in 2025, removing one of the more popular investment-linked residency options. Spanish language skills are genuinely required outside expat circles, and English proficiency drops off quickly once you leave the central areas. The transition will be smoother for those who come prepared linguistically. Number 4. Wyoming, USA. Wyoming offers something almost no other state in the contiguous United States can match: no state income tax, no estate tax, some of the strongest privacy and trust laws in the country, and a population density so low that you can live in genuine geographic solitude without actually leaving America. The scenery is spectacular. The Grand Teton and Bighorn Ranges, high desert basins, and proximity to Yellowstone give the state a physical environment that most of the world charges a premium to access. Monthly costs run $1,900 to $2,700 depending on location. A 1-bedroom in a city center rents for $950 to $1,400. Entry-level residential property sits at $250,000 to $360,000. Farmland and ranch land runs $1,400 to $2,000 per acre. The trade-offs are meaningful. Winters are harsh and extended. Geographic isolation is not a marketing phrase here, it is a daily reality outside Cheyenne, Casper, and Jackson. Housing inventory is genuinely thin in the most desirable areas, which creates competition even at these price points. Services outside the main population centers are limited. Number 3. Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Puerto Vallarta combines Pacific beach access with a lush jungle backdrop and a well-established, openly welcoming expat and retiree community. It has one of the strongest LGBTQ-friendly reputations in Latin America, and its direct flight connections to the US make the transition from visiting to living here relatively frictionless. Residency pathways include both temporary and permanent resident options, which Mexico has kept accessible for retirees and those with passive income. Monthly costs run around $1,400 to $1,800 for a realistic, comfortable lifestyle. Rent for a 1-bedroom in central areas sits at $800 to $1,300. Entry-level property ranges from $200,000 to $400,000. The honest caveat is pricing drift. High season from November through April pushes short-term rental and service prices noticeably higher. Tourist zone pricing has crept steadily inland over recent years as the expat community has grown, so the bargain pricing that drew many early relocators here is not as sharp as it once was. Number 2. Kentucky, USA. Kentucky does not announce itself loudly, which is part of why it keeps appearing near the top of domestic affordability analyses. The state combines rolling bluegrass scenery with Appalachian terrain, a bourbon country tourism economy that has driven genuine investment into its mid-sized cities, and college towns like Lexington and Bowling Green that offer cultural life at a fraction of what comparable cities on the coast charge. The income tax is a flat 4%, set to drop further. The first $31,000 of retirement income is exempt. Property taxes are modest. Monthly costs sit around $1,800 to $2,300 all in. A one-bedroom in a city center rents for $900 to $1,300. Entry-level residential property runs $190,000 to $280,000. Farmland sits at $4,200 to $5,800 per acre, reflecting the premium placed on that iconic pasture land. Eastern Kentucky faces real rural decline, with limited employment, inconsistent broadband, and hollowed-out town centers in some counties. Summers are humid. And for those who want Atlantic or Gulf Coast access, Kentucky's central location means a full day's drive in any direction. Number 1. San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. San Miguel de Allende sits at 1,900 meters above sea level in Mexico's colonial heartland, and that altitude is the key to everything. Temperatures hold between 18 and 25 degrees Celsius virtually year-round, without the humidity that defines most of Mexico's coasts. The city is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and its Centro Histórico, built in the 17th and 18th centuries, has been preserved in a way that makes daily life feel like living inside an architectural exhibit. The English-speaking expat community here is the deepest and most established in all of Mexico. Medical services, English-language cultural programming, real estate agents with full bilingual capability, and a dense network of long-term residents mean that the transition curve for North American and British relocators is noticeably shorter than almost anywhere else on this list. Monthly costs run around $1,500 to $2,000 for a comfortable lifestyle. Rent for a one-bedroom in the center sits at $800 to $1,400. Entry-level property starts at $200,000 and moves up to $450,000 for something fully renovated in a prime location. Residency pathways include both temporary and permanent resident options through Mexico's standard immigration system. The honest downside is that the expat community has done what expat communities always eventually do. It has driven prices up. San Miguel is noticeably more expensive than it was a decade ago, and some of the colonial charm is now priced into everything from restaurant meals to property valuations. The altitude also takes a week or two to adjust for those arriving from sea level. But for a combination of climate, community depth, cultural richness, and a lifestyle quality that is genuinely difficult to replicate at this price point in Europe or North America, San Miguel de Allende stands apart. And there you have it! 15 of the best islands, coastal cities, and affordable destinations for steady living or retirement in 2026, from Split on the Adriatic coast down to San Miguel de Allende in the Mexican highlands. If you found this useful, consider subscribing. We cover destinations like this every week, comparing costs, residency options, and real-world trade-offs so you can make informed decisions before committing to anything. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.